Welcome back. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about, or it's this evening, whenever you're watching this, we're going to be talking about green home projects, and we're going to be identifying the problem that's going to be solved when we're talking about the green home projects. So just to let you know, this is the second time I'm doing this. The first video I made ended up being 40 minutes long, and I just thought that was too much. So I rethought about what I was going to talk about in this video, and I shortened it up quite a bit. So hopefully you'll appreciate that. So as far as the green home project, you're going to be designing and building a model of a home that is green. Now, I'm not talking about the color green. I'm talking about a home that is environmentally friendly. That means it uses less energy. It uses materials that can be recycled or renewed. And it doesn't increase or cause additional problems environmentally. It doesn't cause pollution, that kind of thing. And one of the things you need to think about is where the home is going to be. So every person in the room is going to be assigned at a particular location in the world, and each location is going to have unique characteristics as far as weather and climate is concerned. And that's how this project feeds into our unit, which is weather and climate. We're learning about how energy from the sun heats the planet in different ways, how that energy causes different types of weather and different types of climate. And so you're going to need to think about the climate of your particular location, what causes the climate, and then how you can design a home that can match that climate. So that's where we're going from there. The first thing I want to do is show you this video. It's a video about a company who designs homes that are exactly what I was talking about, are designed to meet particular criteria, to be energy efficient, to be, he used the term off the grid. Off the grid means that you should, a home that is not connected to the rest of the world directly. It doesn't have electrical lines going, it doesn't have water lines going, so it has to get, you want to get electricity, it has to get the electricity, get the water without being connected to the general population. Okay, so let's go ahead and play this, and when it's over, we'll talk a little bit more. And
as we continue to look at different solutions to help curb global warming, it's important to keep in mind that each one of us can make a difference. Sometimes all it takes is a little creativity and some hard work. That's what architect Michael Reynolds believes. He's the man who created the Earthship, a home that is made entirely of recycled materials and is completely sustainable. Which means the people who live in his Earthships don't pay any utility bills, and the community says they couldn't be happier. Where is this off-the-grid paradise? Nestled among the mountains of New Mexico, just outside of Taos.
I think this lifestyle brings you into a level of conscientiousness that you live with the environment.
It is a concept for living.
When I look out my windows all day long, I move to the rhythm of the sun, I move to the rhythm of the seasons. You're connected in a way that you're not connected in a city.
That connection is felt the minute you step into an Earthship home. You're greeted with the scent of flowers in bloom, sunshine flows in from the ceiling, the rooms are cozy and inviting. And despite the 90-degree heat of the desert, the air inside an Earthship is cool with a hint of humidity.
The thing that continues to amaze me is, again, if you look at all the surfaces around you, they're rounded, nothing's squared. It brings a sense of, and this kind of sounds a little hokey, but it does bring a sense of peace and tranquility.
For Chris Litzy and Karina Jang, the decision to move from Breckenridge, Colorado to an Earthship took a little convincing.
We came down to get out of the cold and saw these hobbit-type homes in the desert.
Looks like a mud house to me. I thought, a mud house. I thought, who would live in something like that? It looked like a little cave.
But an Earthship is far from being a cave. First created by architect Michael Reynolds in the 1970s, Earthships are designed to work with the sun and the earth to control temperature and create energy for use.
I call it biotecture because I don't think architecture is even coming close these days.
There are 6 key elements needed for a sustainable Earthship: generation of power, harvesting of water, heating and cooling without fuel, containing and treating sewage on site, in-home food production, and building with recycled materials. Case in point, the walls of an Earthship are made of tin cans, bottles, and tires.
So why use trees when you can use tires? But nobody can imagine how to use tires. But if you take a tire and beat it full of earth, it becomes a steel-belted, rubber-encased, thermal-massed, resilient brick.
And that's literally what happens. The tires are filled with earth and stacked. Once in place, they literally meld together to create a wall that's extremely durable. The homes are ideal in the arid climate of New Mexico, but Michael says they can be built anywhere.
These buildings can be tuned to any climate on the planet, and we've practically done every climate.
Being constructed out of tires and recycled bottles and cans isn't the only thing that makes these homes special. As Nicole LeDuc and her husband Zach Helmberger discovered, living off the grid comes with all sorts of benefits.
When I saw them for the first time, I thought Star Wars. Like, wow, this is like too much. It is something that's beyond the realm of normal construction in look and feel. And then when we started to explore it more deeply, and you saw the sustainability issues.
There's plants growing indoors. There's, you can grow, a small amount of food indoors. And these are green onions, scallions. Himalayan Taos, in high desert, and I have a banana tree. I love it. Hopefully soon we'll get some bananas.
How is that possible? A banana tree in the desert? Earthships have a unique method of capturing and recycling rainwater, and that water gets used to irrigate the plants in the home. There are no wells out here. All the water needed is harvested from the sky. As rain falls on the roof of an Earthship, it's channeled to a cistern where it's filtered. The water is then safe for drinking and other household needs. But it doesn't stop there. Water from the sinks and showers, called gray water, is harvested again and sent to the indoor gardens.
You take a shower, it runs through this system, waters all these plants, produces all this food, is totally contained. We gather it again, only it's much cleaner after going through all of this. We suck that back up to flush the toilet with. In other words, we flush the toilet with water that you took a bath in yesterday.
Water from the toilet, called black water, goes into a conventional septic tank. Then it gets pumped out to the yard where it's recycled through the ground in what's called a botanical cell, which is really just an area of landscaping.
So you can have a life with water from the sky.
Now that we know about the water in the home, what about electricity?
I didn't think I could live out here. I didn't know if I would have enough water, enough energy. What if you can't use a computer or have no phone or no television? But no worries.
Living off the grid doesn't mean you can't do things. It just means a different way of doing things.
And finding a different way to do things didn't take this couple long. Chris, who ironically works in the oil and gas industry, added a couple of extra solar panels to ensure his computer ran smoothly. And Karina gave up a little kitchen space in order to keep her top-of-the-line appliances.
I'm actually a chef, and so I do have a professional stove and a great refrigerator. It's a conventional size, even though it's propane refrigerator. And we can cook really well in this kitchen.
As for Nicole and Zach, who left behind high-tech jobs in California, it wasn't space they gave up, it was
Craziness. It's a big one. Rush for no purpose. And I was feeling very fragmented when I left Silicon Valley in California. I was feeling in a very boxed, high-tech environment and not whole and at peace with nature.
The connection to nature is possibly the most remarkable aspect of living in an Earthship home. And yet, what may be even more surprising is that neither of the families we talk to consider themselves environmentalists.
That's a hard one because I don't know that I'm a hardcore environmentalist. I think my soul and spirit is there. I'm not like a flag-waving environmentalist in that sense.
That's a really good question. How do you feel about that?
We probably need to define an environmentalist. I would say we're extreme. I mean, we recycle, we try to do whatever we can.
I would say we're not environmentalists, but what we are is conscientious consumers of the planet. I don't walk to town. I still do get in a car and drive.
Environmentalists or not, everyone who lives in an Earthship agrees on one thing.
And once you've lived in an Earthship, you would never go back to a regular house.
As for Michael, his dream is to help everyone understand how Earthships could be the answer to a more sustainable future.
With global warming just like breathing down our neck, we're going to get an Earthship in every major community, like London, like Paris, as a display, as an educational facility.
The cost to build an Earthship starts at about $150,000 and goes up from there, depending on how big you want to make it. For an exclusive homeowner tour of a very special Earthship, just log on to our website at weather.com/forecastearth.
Okay, so now you have sort of an idea how someone could think about how weather and climate might affect the way a home is designed. You know, what kind of insulation do you have? Do you need to worry about water issues? Do you need to worry about heat or electricity issues? You know, in these homes, they were out in the desert, they got plenty of sunlight, so putting solar panels gave them a lot of electricity, but they did have to worry about keeping their home cool, and they had to worry about having enough water for their home. So those are some of the things that you need to think about. I'm sorry. You're going to be in all kinds of different locations. Some of those locations, like in Iceland, are going to be very cold. Antarctica, Australia is another sort of desert climate. The Bahamas is more of a rainforest type of climate. Actually, Nassau, where I've been there, they actually do have some water issues. They don't have enough, their water issues have to do with having enough water for all the tourists that come. They have enough water for their plants, but not enough water for all their tourists. So anyway, you're going to be assigned one of these locations, and again, you'll have to think about what is the climate at that location, what causes the climate at that location, and how can you design a home that could take advantage of the benefits of that location and also deal with the disadvantages. So what I'd like you to do is just spend a few minutes writing down what do you know about climate, about weather, maybe about designing homes. What do you need to know to be able to accomplish this project? So I'm going to be taking a look at this particular list and make sure that I have all my lessons planned. We'll deal with all the things you need to know. So to a certain degree, you get to choose some of the lessons I have. And then this column is for what you've learned maybe today. And then again, we can continue to fill out this column as we have more and more lessons and you learn more and more things. Okay, so take a few minutes, write that down. I'm going to stop the video at this point and come back to class, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of your thoughts.